Welcome everybody to the Four Esoterics. Here with Ben Boychuk, Louis Fine, and brought to you by way of AM Greatness. We're on Twitter, we're on YouTube, we are on pretty much any digital downloading site you could imagine. Ben, give out the exact how to spell it.
At numeral 4 Esoterics, ESOTERICS on Twitter.
We ask,
and YouTube and wherever else.
All over. And we ask that you follow Carlin's rules here. Please wear pants and no politics allowed. And
no, not here, but American Greatness has plenty of politics to keep you happy.
Yes, exactly right. This is our break. This is political people trying to get a break from politics. Is that fair to say, Ben?
We deserve a break today.
We deserve a break today from the 24-hour madness that is a news cycle.
Correct.
And we're all in that age demo of the 80s, pretty much. It's fair to say.
I think that's true.
Where the 80s was popular to us. And the other day you were talking about the 80s, but you brought up you wanted to talk about best soundtrack and best ballad, right?
Well, yeah, it was such a diverse decade for music. We tend to think about big hair and things like that, but there was a lot of good stuff that came out of it. And I tried to make the point on the episode that if we had wanted to, we could easily spend an episode just on movie soundtracks from that decade, and also ballads, because ballads seem to be a big thing.
So here's the thing with ballads, right? There are some bands, but with ballads, a ballad was pretty much done by a rock band that made a love song, that made a ballad.
Right.
It wasn't like The Cure, who pretty much were a ballady band.
Right.
Or Tears for Fears, in a sense, who were an arena rock band. This is simply like bands like Warrant, Cinderella, certain bands that were more hard rock that made that one love song. Right.
Although you could probably say that there's some overlap in the soundtrack.
100%.
And yeah.
So let's get the soundtracks. What are some of your 5 favorite soundtracks from the 1980s?
Well, I teased this on Twitter. We're going to talk a lot about Queen. Yeah,
which is a soundtrack, but
yeah. Well, no. Because and I'm not joking here at all. That my all-time favorite '80s soundtrack is the Flash Gordon soundtrack that Queen did in 1980. Yes.
And that was not the first choice.
What?
That was not the first choice for the producers. That was not the original soundtrack.
Right. Yeah. But as it turns out, so the Flash Gordon soundtrack, when I was a college student and working, I was an editor at the UCSD Guardian down in San Diego. Every time the sports section completed its pages, they would throw the Flash Gordon soundtrack on the record player. We still had a record player in the office, and play The Hero. Flash Gordon soundtrack is awesome. It's just it's awesome. There are 2 songs on there that make the whole thing worthwhile: the Flash Gordon theme and The Hero, which may be the best Queen song of all time, although I know people would argue with me. Flash Gordon soundtrack is completely cheesy, but it's very heavy, and it's loaded with guitars, and it's got the quintessential Queen sound, and it's got lots of cheesy synthesizer noises, but it's still amazing. And if you hear any of it live, it's also amazing. So
okay, so getting back to what Louis said, what was, before you get to your next one, what was the song supposed to be in it?
Louis, what was it?
I'm sorry, I wasn't the PA on that film. What I was going to say is that I did see a showing of Flash Gordon at the New Beverly Cinema, and in attendance, in fact, he sat right behind me to show you how cheap a Bond he was. Timothy Dalton was right behind me, and he took a few questions from the audience after the screening. But to come back to Ben's set, what's the deal with Iron Man riding the Sibian? I want to know about that, because he's got an iron pole up his iron behind.
He does not.
Ben, this is all on you, because
he doesn't.
You do the set design in your office.
Yeah, I do this. I do the set.
Now I was as Topol, though I didn't have as much facial hair at the time. I was in Flash Gordon as Professor. Help me out here, Zord.
Okay, so getting back to Ben.
I know I've done a lot, but here, hold on. There's some great lines.
Lewis, remember the rule.
What's the rule?
Okay, I have to do this autistic hat shaking. Zarkov. So I was Professor Zarkov, and to quote the lead Hawkman's line, "Gordon's alive."
Thank you for making us that was thrilling. Okay, Ben.
And it's got Porkins, the actor who played Porkins, who was in Star Wars.
Okay, right. Ben, let's get back to here. What's your
plays his assistant?
Ben, what's your next favorite?
I'm sorry.
He'll have comments on that one.
Sorry. My second favorite is another.
Look at how Iron Man is.
Good job. No. All right. I'm with you. I'm sorry, Lewis. Okay. Oh my God. My second favorite is A Kind of Magic, also by Queen. 12th studio album by Queen. I think Flash Gordon was the 9th. And it's the soundtrack to Highlander.
Oh my God, there can be only one.
There can be only one. Yeah.
I have seen every episode of the TV show Highlander, not by choice, but my father was a huge fan.
TV show? That's like saying, we went to California for a vacation. We went to Knott's Berry Farm instead of Disneyland.
That also happened in my childhood. Thank you very much for bringing up memories.
You're traumatizing people here.
But I want to say something about Flash Gordon. The least plausible part of the film is at the very beginning, and that is that Flash Gordon is the quarterback of a winning New York Jets football team. And
okay, Ben.
Everything about that movie is a wink in the nod and a wink in the nod to the audience.
But prior to the election of Obama, for example, this isn't political. Only in a sci-fi disaster film could you have a black president. You had Morgan Freeman in Deep Impact, which, could a comet destroy the world? Absolutely. A black man president? You lost me. So the same thing with the Jets.
Okay. Right. Okay. Right. So Highlander, fantastic movie. Queen.
The coolest song on A Kind of Magic is "Give Me the Prize," and by the way, I have not seen it, but somewhere out there has got to be, because the guy who plays Kurgan in the film is Clancy Brown. Clancy Brown is also the voice of Mr. Krabs on SpongeBob SquarePants. Somewhere out there, and I don't think it exists. Well, somewhere out there needs to be a mashup of either Kurgan's scenes from Highlander in the voice of Mr. Krabs, or a whole bunch of Mr. Krabs stuff from SpongeBob using Kurgan's voice. Anyway, that's my two.
Clancy Brown's greatest role in his filmography, Bad Boys, with Sean Penn and this guy. He quit acting and he now works in investments. But he also played one of Al Pacino's 27 kids in the film Author. And he looks very much like he could be Judah's cousin. But I'm not sure on his ethnicity. He was married. I saw the New York Times announcement. He's from Jersey. from my neck of the woods. But my point being, he is one of the stars of the co-star of the film Bad Boys, and Clancy Brown, of course, plays the villain.
Which
and
has
it's got
nothing to do with Ben's favorite movie soundtrack.
right, but I'll bring it back to music because the Hispanic actor, whose name, of course, I forget, plays Richie Valens' brother in La Bamba. That actor would be
S.I. Morales.
correct.
And you brought up one of my favorite movie soundtracks, which often will get overlooked, which was La Bamba. But let's get to you. Let's get back to you, Ben.
No, I only have two.
You have two favorite.
Nothing else happened in the 80s that was worth a damn. Although I would say,
take us to break.
Let's go to a break. Are we gonna drop something in, or do you want me to do it live?
I want you to do it live.
Okay, great.
We'll do it live.
We'll do it live. I have the best news in the world. Restaurants in San Bernardino County are being allowed to reopen, and my good friends at Stone Creek Bistro in the mountains of San Bernardino are reopening almost certainly on Friday. So if you've heard me talking, or if you've heard somehow through the grapevine about Stone Creek Bistro's famous fried chicken sandwiches, you will have an opportunity to visit in person without being hassled by the man. And in the meantime, visit them online at www.stonecreekbistro.com. They're in Blue Jay, California. You can call for a reservation possibly at 909-337-3663. That's Stone Creek Bistro, stonecreekbistro.com.
Can we also get a plug for your comic book gay erotica statues?
No.
Okay, so
I'm not talking about that.
So what I love that that you pulled a Lewis and you decided on a topic and only brought up two mark on you soundtrack wise. Lewis from the 1980s, not 60s.
Right. Is it my turn now to carry the show?
Yes, go for it, Lewis. So what are some of your favorite soundtracks?
Okay, some background. Like a telemarketer with a two-name call list, Judah has been texting me for the last 3 days nonstop, and I need your top 5 ballads. I need your top 5 movie soundtrack over and over. I mean, to the point where I had to go to the Apple store. They have a virtual Apple. Hold on, virtual Genius store to figure out how to block him and then or provide automatic replies that suggest as if I'm paying attention. So let me with that preparatory remark, let me say that you cannot top the soundtrack from Grease 2 with songs like Score Tonight by Adrian's Med, Girl for All Seasons with Michelle Pfeiffer and Lorna Luft, and Reproduction, whatever that means, with Tab Hunter. Who is this guy? What is Eddie Munster just flashed on the screen?
Hollywood actor. So Grease 2. Go on.
No, that's a joke. Now comes the real part. See this? This is.
Go for it.
Okay. I challenge you to find a movie soundtrack with more hits than Purple Rain from 1984. Listen to this. Let's Go Crazy. When Doves Cry. I Would Die for You. And of course, the titular Purple Rain. You've got instant hits right there out of the 9 songs on the soundtrack.
Amazing soundtrack.
Now, here's the film I haven't seen. I can't believe I haven't seen it, but it came to mind when I thought of the 80s and soundtracks. But it turns out it's really a 2-hit wonder from the soundtrack, and that's Flashdance.
I have Flashdance on my list too, with Maniac and what was the other?
Irene Cara's.
See, here's the thing about these soundtracks that we're referring to. They're indelible. You can't separate them from the movie. So even though it's just 1 or 2 songs from Flashdance, Lewis, you think of Flashdance, you think of Maniac.
Yeah, but the other one that was done by Irene Cara. That's the other song. What's the other song?
What a Feeling.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay, so I just wanted you to know, Lewis, John, our podcast profiler has joined in. John Douglas.
He's back.
He's back.
Back for more punishment.
Listen, do me a favor. Take a drink of tea before you read his essay.
He actually knows. He actually picked one of my favorite soundtracks that was never released, which was The Last American Virgin.
Oh, I thought he was going to go with Yentl.
Which was originally an Israeli movie, but they made it into America. So, John, if you could type all the songs in while Lewis is giving his soundtracks, please go for it, Lewis. So you have Flashdance, you have Purple Rain.
It's Flashdance, not the Flashdance.
Okay, on Flashdance.
But you just went crazy old Jew on us.
Yes.
Where do I find the Flashdance?
Lewis, continue.
Do they have that?
Lewis, I'm impressed with your choices.
It's not my choices. There's some research because you violated the Telecommunications Act of 1996 with the text.
Lewis,
so another film that's got, I mean, it's just a hit parade, is Top Gun.
Oh yeah, I have that on my list.
I had that on my list too.
Berlin, Kenny Loggins.
Right. Now, I saw Kenny Loggins with a friend at the Hollywood Bowl, and my friend said to me, unaware of his work, except for I would say Footloose, the song Footloose. She joked, "Does he even have enough songs for a set?"
Oh,
but if you're going to talk about Kenny Loggins, then you have to talk about Footloose. But you also have to talk about, because I think the film came out in 1980. If it came out in 1980, then yes, it did, and that is Caddyshack.
Caddyshack. I'm all right.
That's right.
Yeah, that's a great song.
I mean, he was the hit machine for a decade, as far as movies went. I mean, he was whoever produced.
But he had there's another catchy tune I don't think it's from a soundtrack, but one of his 80s hits. Ben, help me out.
What? Oh boy!
In what movie? In Caddyshack?
No, it's not. It's not from a movie. It's just a Kenny Loggins 80s hit.
Welcome to Pooh Corner.
Welcome to Pooh Corner
was a massive hit.
That's for the Iron Man statue.
That was a massive hit by him. He had a ton of hits.
Yeah, but there's one in particular.
Better Than the Real Thing.
I'm trying to figure it out. I don't know.
This is it.
Yeah.
Oh, but that came out in 1979.
So close. This is it.
I like that very much. That's another exceptional movie choice. Lewis, go on.
If we were doing this one day later, then I'd have more, because there'd be more texts.
You cannot talk about 1980s soundtrack without mentioning the name, and you're all gonna fall over and die when I say it. Tangerine Dream.
Risky Business.
Risky Business. Also one of the great I think the first movie by Catherine Bigelow, Near Dark, which was a very, very cool very, very cool vampire movie, and featuring Bill Paxton and Jeanette Goldstein, both who had just come off of Aliens.
I love her. I ran into her on a job, and she her presence just took my breath away. I know that sounds crazy, but she is so well spoken, and yeah. I love
that she's I think she's continuing to work, but I mean, she was somebody who when we talked about character actors a few episodes back, she's one of those people who seemed to have a real moment in the 80s and early 90s. She was in Terminator 2. She's great. I think she's great in everything she does, but
well, her shining moment was when she beat her ex James Cameron for Best Director over he was doing yes.
Yeah, that's right. But so Tangerine Dream gave us not only Risky Business and the score to Near Dark, but also Thief, which is
Great
not
movie.
Michael Mann.
Michael
Michael
Mann's
Mann.
first movie. It was with James Caan. It was an exceptional movie.
Thief is awesome.
Yeah, Thief is incredible. So,
and-
Louis, getting back to
One
sound,
more. I'm going to give you one more that just came.
I want to scratch off my list because we have the same ones. So you said Purple Rain, Footloose off the list. You said Top Gun, right?
Top Gun.
Top Gun. Okay.
Here's
okay.
one that just came to mind that it's got a bunch of hits on it, or so I want to believe. The Lost Boys.
It Lost Boys.
Oh,
Yes.
When I was Googling, that kept on coming up, by the way, was the Lost Boys.
Well, it's got that great cover.
By the Nazi, Roger Waters.
No, that wasn't what I was thinking. I was actually thinking, what is it? I think it's Echo and the Bunnymen did that cover of the Doors.
Yeah, they did. Echo and the Bunnymen. Yes, you are correct.
Yeah.
Louis, I gotta give you props today, Louis. You came in strong with some of these.
None of these are necessarily my favorite. I'm just thinking of films that, if someone says 80s soundtrack.
Yeah, it's really funny because I keep on asking John Douglas to list me the names of the songs in The Last American Virgin, but I'm gonna go with the Last American Virgin. You have no need to see the movie, but basically, it was like an Israeli producer. I think he took the rights to, he put in the Cars, he put in REO Speedwagon, he put in.
When you say he took the rights, let's be clear. He stole them.
He stole the rights, yes. Yes, okay. And he absolutely stole the rights. I'm going to go with Say Anything, simply because in your eyes that you think of Say Anything, you think of that song. Have either of you seen that?
I have. I'm thinking that you're neglecting on purpose for fear of social isolation, worse than the quarantine, your love for Mandy Patinkin. Huge
love. And I have The Princess Bride on my list.
Of course you do.
Yeah, because Mark Knopfler scored this. I think he scored the soundtrack, or at least wrote a few songs for it. It was an incredible movie. My top hit, the top one I have is Dirty Dancing. I
knew you were going to do that.
How could you not? How can you not? You have Eric Carmen, not just writing Love Lift Us Up Where We Belong. You had Hungry Eyes. It's synonymous. You can't separate the Dirty Dancing is almost like one big music video.
Yes, it is. I think by design, right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think you could separate them. Pretty in Pink is another movie that had exceptional songs in it.
It does. I just was trying to avoid the whole John Hughes, but you had Oingo Boingo, you had all those. And I also brought up La Bamba, which had the whole Richie Valens soundtrack.
Right.
And John, is there anybody I'm leaving out? I have no. Oh yeah, and it had. By the way, you're getting me lost in your typing translation, John. Whip It by Devo. This was it. What was in Last American Virgin was Whip It by Devo, Doo Doo Da by the Police, Oingo Boingo, I Will Follow You by U2. I don't know. Like you said, Louis, he stole the music.
Oh yeah, I mean
that song.
Nobody got compensation.
That song by Just Once was in it. It was. If you guys haven't seen the movie, it's not really worth seeing, but the soundtrack is incredible. Ben, has there anybody that you've thought of like you did the other day with, because you're sort of a snobbery to the 80s, and it's not offensive. How can you be a snob when you have, like Louis says, Iron Man statues behind you?
No. Let's be clear. Gay erotica fashion to look like Iron Man.
Yeah,
Ben, you did this,
taking it all the way to the skull.
I did it to myself. Yeah.
And Kristen and John and whoever else is listening, if you want to type in some of your favorite soundtracks. But was there anyone I left out that you guys could think of? Producer girlfriend, anyone?
Well, I just wanted to I wanted to distinguish between soundtrack albums that consist of like hit songs. I mean, so the John Hughes movies are great examples of this. Top Gun is a great example of it. Ghostbusters is a great example of it. But you got to distinguish between soundtrack. Let's start again. You have to distinguish between soundtrack albums that have cool songs on them and scores. And so you mentioned The Princess Bride by
God, Valley Girl, Kristen Fowler. Valley Girl.
Two of mine actually are original soundtracks because they fit very well. So, and you guys are going to laugh because they're chick type stuff, but I've mentioned this on the show before. I'm a fan of Labyrinth by David Bowie.
You mispronounced it.
It's Labyrinth.
It's Labyrinth.
Labyrinth.
That's a good call. Bowie was
and
awesome.
Another one, which my mother and I absolutely love, is Beaches by Bette Midler. And all of it was written or sung by Bette Midler.
What was that one big song? It was
From a Distance. Can you do me a favor?
Wind Beneath My Wing.
Yes.
Yeah, From a Distance, I think. Do me a favor, producer girlfriend?
Yes.
Never speak again?
Do I ever speak again?
No, can you never speak again?
Oh.
Okay. And so I have two more things to add. Favorite song from a movie during the 80s would be Holiday Road by Lindsey Buckingham, which I think is brilliant. Great. And it's the only song that Lindsey Buckingham was ever asked to create a song for a movie. After that, he's never wrote an original song for a movie.
For the record, she's a massive Fleetwood Mac fan, but Kristen Fowler brought up a great movie, which is Valley Girl, which had tremendous music to it.
Now, I know this film, and you're lucky because it came out in 1990. But I know not only is it your favorite,
Pretty Woman.
What?
Pretty Woman.
No, I'll get to that in a moment. Not only is it one of your favorites, I have no doubt when that comfort is established with you and producer girlfriend, you are going to do your best to get her.
Name it.
No, Ghost, to recreate that pottery scene, because I could see you just crying like a baby to the music of that movie.
Because he eats his yogurt and his beard eats it too.
To be fair,
go ahead.
To be fair, Judah likes a lot more romantic music than I do, and he plays like really amazing playlists that he actually makes.
Who is this Eddie Munster that keeps showing up on the screen?
It's our music profiler, John Douglas.
Oh.
Pretty Woman, by the way, John was 1990. Okay, yeah.
And by the way, Jennifer Jason Leigh, who was offered the role, said it best in a Playboy interview. Think about the premise of this movie, and this is the genius of Gary Marshall and Hollywood marketing. The pitch: a prostitute working Hollywood Boulevard picks up a John who happens to be a billionaire, and they fall in love. And
by the way, just so you know, for the record, Lewis, that was not the original version of the script.
Oh, okay. I'm sure
it was a much darker, because a friend of mine read for it, and he said it was a much, much darker script than what eventually came out. And
but even so,
yeah, no, 100 without a doubt. I mean, they've made a generation of women. That movie set up a generation of women to
be hookers,
find prostitution quite endearing.
Or, as our good friend, wherever he may be, Larry Klayman would say, raised a generation of whores.
Yes, that's exactly.
And now you said the other movie, Pretty Woman, yeah. So that's it's just a bit ridiculous.
Okay, so John Douglas. So Lewis, it wasn't stolen. Half the movie's soundtrack, he says, was paid. The Last American Virgin was half the movie was paid for the soundtrack. Okay, so Ben, we're going to go to a quick break, but in the other time, when we get back, we're going to do your favorite ballads. I can't wait to hear yours, Ben, and take us out with an ad.
Well, if you're listening to this or watching this, you're almost certainly seeing it at American Greatness, www.amgreatness.com. We don't talk about politics on this program, but you will get your fill of politics at American Greatness every single day with news stories by Conrad Black, Julie Kelly, Victor Davis Hanson, and of course, every single day, 5 days a week, don't miss out on morning greatness compiled by our great news editor, Liz Sheld. Subscribe to our newsletter and keep coming back throughout the day because we're changing stories throughout the day. American Greatness, www.amgreatness.com.
I also have a commercial.
Yes.
Great.
Are you looking for a salty, cheesy, carby snack during this COVID-19 pandemic?
Yes.
You are? Well, if you happen to live in the Manhattan or New Jersey area, or the Chicago or opening back up Michigan, or if you plan on being in the Santa Barbara area, pick up a bag of Colleen's Better Than Breadsticks.
Oh.
The carb crack of the pandemic.
Then you got one, then I got one. Okay.
Go for it, Louis. Louis, are you shaking your hat or are you?
Well, I'm not going to have an autistic fit. Have you ever wanted to undergo a sigmoidoscopy without twilight or anesthesia? Now is your chance to replicate that experience, to memorialize it with your own desktop tchotchke in the form of a Marvel superhero of your choice, be it Iron Man, Captain America, Mr. Fantastic, The Thing, or even better, insert a thing in Iron Man.
Okay, John.
www.bensplayhouse.com.
And by the way, John, just so you see, if none of us, when he gets into his soliloquies, knows who it's coming at. So Ben was sitting there going, is this going to be at me?
Oh,
they're thinking the same thing.
Can we pan to Ben's murder bag that's on top of a cadaver bag?
So getting okay. So let's do favorite '80s ballads, another thing that Ben picked out. And I find that and the reason, Ben, I bring this up is because the other day, as you were poo-pooing the '80s, different songs came to you as being exceptional for that time. One of them being Queen. Some of their best work was in the '80s.
This is a damn lie, first of all.
Purple Rain with Prince.
Accusing me of poo-pooing the '80s. This is a damnable. This is a calumny.
How many spoonfuls of Metamucil's in that canister, Judah?
we have.
How many does it take to keep you regular?
All of it.
Oh, I could actually do an advertisement for Linzess. No, but go on. So, Ben, what are some of your favorite ballads?
Well, I'm a metal guy, and so there was a lot of terrible stuff metal-wise that come out of the '80s, including from Guns N' Roses.
Kick. Let me ask you a question. Were you a Saigon Kick fan before they came out with Love Is on the Way?
No, not really.
Okay.
Not really. No, I was, which is on the GNR Lies album, which came out in 1988. And Patience is certainly a departure from, and I was actually, I think of a few sort of decent ballads from that era, and then there was a lot of really cheesy ones, which we can get to.
Well,
I'm looking at you, Def Leppard. What?
Wouldn't you consider "Sweet Child of Mine" a ballad?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
This is where the difficulty stands, because they were a great band that had some really good love songs. It doesn't make them ballady.
I think Patience, though, is clear. It's a delicate kind of acoustic, nice journey that has nothing to do with
a lot of good whistling.
Heroin. Yeah,
a lot of good whistling.
Right.
And Kristen agrees with you on Def Leppard, but Def Leppard had a lot of ballads. They were.
Well, but I was gonna actually, I'm going to live up to my snob reputation, and crap all over Love Bites, which would be on my bottom 5 list of awful, cliched, wretched sort of when you're in high school and you just got dumped by some girl and you have to listen to that song. And
so apparently that happened to you.
I was about to say, so
yeah, no, apropos of nothing in particular.
We all had a list. I mean, every guy, I mean, I want women to understand this. Men, I'm speaking for myself and Ben, I don't put Lewis into the man equation. of normalcy of when they break up. But you had a list, right? There was a certain amount, certain types of songs you would listen to after breakup, right? From Chicago, Cinderella always worked.
God, I'd love to see you on your third bus transfer, crying like a baby because of a breakup with some guy.
What are you talking about?
Nobody
I'm talking about Judah.
Nobody
Oh.
knows. Nobody knows.
He's on
Defamation.
some train. I mean, he's on some bus going through Williamsburg,
You don't want me getting
crying like a baby.
You don't want me getting Larry on you. So Ben, keep on going. How offended? I'm really curious. So, how offended were you when Ozzy and Lita Ford made that song together?
I actually like that song.
Oh, you like that song?
It's again, the lyrics on all these things are so. No one is ever going to compare this stuff to Keats or Shakespeare or whatever, right? But that song which is "Close My Eyes Forever."
Yes, it's a great song.
It's a very good song. Ozzy Osbourne, Lita Ford.
About an anti-suicide song.
Yeah. It's a pretty song. As opposed to a very funny. Well, it's Testament, which is a metal band, had a ballad called "The Ballad," and it ends up it gets pretty good by the end. But I think part of me thinks that they wrote that song because everybody had a ballad at some point, and they decided they need to get in on the action, and so we'll write a ballad. What do you want to call it? I don't know. Let's just call it "The Ballad," and then they played it, and like I think it would have made Ronnie James. The lyrics would have made Ronnie James Dio jealous because they're just it's just cliched rhyming idiocy.
So you like that better than "Mama, I'm Coming Home"?
Oh, actually, no, I haven't gotten that to you. I actually like that song a lot too. And "Don't Know What You've Got Till It's Gone" by Cinderella. I also like.
One of my favorites.
Yeah.
Cinderella is one of my favorite bands from the 80s, but go on.
But no, I think "Fade to Black" by Metallica counts, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, which would be my top hit. My top ballad of the 80s would be "Fade to Black" by Metallica. And which, funny story, a friend of mine who was in 8th grade wrote out the lyrics to that song on the front of a notebook, and a teacher saw it, and he had to go to counseling because they thought it was a suicide note. So,
I want to tell you something very funny. High school, my mother's going to enjoy this story. We all had to write poems. So, for English class, and I had a friend named Baruch Greenbaum. Yes, you can make fun of the name, Louis.
No, Jewish?
A little bit.
Okay.
And he gets up in front of the classroom, in front of Mrs. Levitt's classroom, and he says, "She's got a smile that, it seems to me, reminds me of childhood memories." And he just starts doing the whole Guns N' Roses, and she's looking at him like, "Oh my God, I have a savant in the classroom. Like, I have this poetic genius in the classroom." And all of a sudden, everybody in the classroom just goes, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, sweet child of mine." And he got by, and it was quite funny, but it was so. Anywho, Louis, what are some of yours? Because I really want to get to.
No, I get it. Do you take any commissions? I want a Judah original.
Yes.
A poem.
Yes. No, I was the But what about you, Louis? What are some of your?
You were the Jacob Dylan with a C of Flatbush. So
Okay.
when you this was during your marathon texting, I'm going to read my list. So
None of them were from the 80s.
No, some of them absolutely were, because so what I had offered was originally "Used to Love Her."
Yes, that's a kill. It's by Guns N' Roses' first album about killing his girlfriend. Great ballad, love ballad.
"Suicide Solution."
That was not from that was either 1980 or before that. Go on.
Help me out, Ben.
No, wait, no. That because that was solo. First of all, that was solo Ozzy. And hold on a minute. Let me
use the Google.
Yeah, I'm using the Google. Hold on. So, because all yeah.
John,
So
this is where we need your help.
that came out in 1980.
Okay,
so
I said 1980.
But that's not a ballad.
Drug Ballad. That's another one I included.
By who?
Well, let me look that up. I don't remember.
And by the way,
Suicide Solution is not a ballad. It's a rock.
It's by Eminem, and it's from 2000.
Oh, well, there you go.
You were really close on that one.
And the other one was
anybody seriously music.
Well, hold on. And I had The End.
Yeah, which is the 60s and the Doors.
And then I had Mandy.
Yes, which was the 70s and Barry Manilow. So you're really good on the.
And then I came back with Sailing, which I was convinced was at least 1980, but 79.
79. And so, Louis, this is the question I have for you. Why are you so scared to get intimate with us and share who you actually really did enjoy musically in the 80s? I just want to know.
Metaphorically wrap my naked body around you as we.
Yes, I want to know. I want to know. Ben also wants to know. Kristen wants to know. Who did you like?
I just, if it sounded, I wasn't that categorical, and I certainly was not knowledgeable enough to distinguish between ballads and.
But you listened to PLJ.
WPLJ and Z100 and
Z100, and there was a very PLJ in that time was a very, ballady. I understand what you're saying. Kristen brought up sailing is not stick. Sailing that's sail away.
Come sail away.
Kristen. Sailing is
Christopher Cross. I heard some urban legend that it's actually about child molestation.
The most unlikely of rock heroes ever.
Christopher Cross.
And
Arthur's theme.
Yeah, and from General Hospital, which was Luke and Laura, and he did that one with Michael McDonald.
Right, and if you get caught between the moon and a mugger about to wild you and leave you for dead in Central Park, they say it's crazy, but it's true.
That's. What about you, producer girlfriend?
I have 3. Okay. 3 songs.
How if one is not from Dirty Dancing, I'm going to be in shock.
I didn't, because I knew you would bring that up. Okay. So, Total Eclipse of the Heart.
Great song.
Take My Breath Away.
Of course.
Top Gun.
And by the Eurythmics, Here Comes the Rain.
Oh, that's very nice.
So
it's Sweet Dreams.
I know you picked the Eurythmics song that most of us don't know.
It's like her favorite John Hughes film is Home Alone.
Yes.
You picked the B-side. I love
that.
John,
that's me.
Please type away to some of your favorite ballads of the 80s. You too, Kristen. But Louis, I appreciate your honesty, because you're right. If you're growing up at that time, we only are able to look 80s was looking at monster ballads. It was only until they started selling these CDs or Monsters of Rock that we thought of them as. So here's some of mine.
I wasn't taking the train to Juilliard.
The Outfield. Use Your Love. All familiar with that song?
No. That's a deep cut.
No, that was their only song. I don't want to lose your. Josie's on a vacation far.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay. Woof.
Okay. Love Song by Tesla.
That's a good one.
Anything by Journey was really a ballad. What about Foreigner? I Want to Know What Love Is.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a great pick.
Air Supply, Making Love Out of Nothing at All.
Mm-hmm.
I have REO Speedwagon.
What?
That's
when are you going to start taking
everything
shots?
Take It on the Run. That's Lewis's theme. I also have Heaven by Warrant.
Great pick.
I have White Snake, and White Lion When the Children Cry. Lion and Wait, and but White Snake had 2 big massive ballads.
What about Bon Jovi?
Oh, I wrote him down. Him as a band, he was pure ballad. It was like anything he sang was a bit with Bon Jovi.
Was not. No, he was a rocker.
Shot through the
And
heart.
he wrote ballads.
Flame.
He was a rocker that wrote ballads.
You can't say anything, or it was all ballads. It's not.
You give love a bad name.
Chicago '80s was all ballads.
There was a lot of ballads.
Yeah, post, when David Foster got in there,
right,
it became ballads. Okay, right. I have just a couple more. I have Human League. Don't You Forget About Me.
Oh, yeah.
Don't You Forget About Me. I Met You as a Waitress in a Cocktail Bar, that song.
Don't You Forget About Me was
Simple Minds.
Simple Minds, yeah.
Interestingly enough, the song was first offered to Billy Idol, who said he didn't want to do it.
What I love is that no one has mentioned a ballad from the 80s by, and it's okay with regard to one of these artists, by Billy Joel or Bruce Springsteen.
Oh, I was going to bring up Bruce Springsteen. He had two ballads, which was Human Touch and Brilliant Disguise, which his fans hated him for. It was the only songs you could understand every word he was saying. So
what's the song about left a girl in Baltimore?
Got a wife and kid in Baltimore, Jack. Hungry
Heart.
Hungry
right?
Heart, yeah.
The Human Lead song you're thinking of is I think you're thinking, and I'm not even sure that was.
I met her as a waitress.
Yeah, don't you want me, baby? But that was if that is a ballad, then I'm the king of Siam. That was not a ballad.
With the set you have around you, you might be the king of Siam.
And what's with your phrenology bust that you have next to your 27 Taurus?
I'm very interested in skull shapes.
I cannot understand how Iron Man is not writhing in pain.
By the way, Jake Miller, if you have any songs, just type them in.
That's a John Hughes name. Character.
Yeah.
Jake Miller.
It was
yeah. Jake. No, but it's John Hughes like. Look at this guy.
It was Jake something. But I also wrote Gloria.
Jake Ryan. Jake something.
Jake Ryan. And I wrote Gloria.
The Flash Dance.
By Peter Cetera.
Now there's it. There you go. Now you've redeemed yourself.
Yes.
You've redeemed yourself with that one. Good job.
Well, thank you. What about Jesse's Girl? Was that a ballad?
I'm not. That's not a. Is that? I wouldn't call that a ballad.
No, I mean, so it's like basically it was like when Scorpions had a bunch of good ballads. So did Skid Row. I Will Remember You.
Yes. That's all true.
It was quite the time for ballads, and I think a lot of these songs actually ruined their careers.
Yeah,
that's the problem with the ballad. It made them tons of money that they lost, but at the same time, it broke up the bands.
Well, I think because there's a lot of cheesy ballads.
Oh, and Never Gonna Give You Up. How could we forget Never Gonna Give You Up by Rick Astley?
We talked about that last time.
It's not
the song from the.
It's too poppy to be a ballad.
Crystal Gregory Hines cop buddy movie.
That was a good movie, by the way.
But with the song, there's one song.
Running Scared was the name of the movie.
Right, but give me the song.
Hold on.
John Douglas says not a ballad, so I got to go with John Douglas on this one. He's our forensic pod specialist.
John Douglas from PS 143 in the Bronx.
What he said, Sweet Freedom, by the way, was what the song you're looking for on Running Scared, Sweet Freedom.
Okay, so here's my
Michael McDonald.
Right.
Michael McDonald, yeah.
Ben, here's my question to you, since we both like this band. Would they be considered? Would Flock of Seagulls be considered? Would those songs be considered ballady? How come?
I don't think so. I think that. I mean, it's way too.
Space Age Love Song is a ballady song.
It's not a ballad. It's great. Is it a ballad though? Let's ask the people. What do the people say?
John, Kirsten, Space Age Love Song.
Space Age Love Song. I don't know that I would call it a ballad. It's too. I guess maybe we have a problem defining the term because
that's the problem. Because Poison, And those certain bands, like what's it called? Like Motley Crue had that terrible song, that one ballad of theirs,
Home Sweet Home.
Home Sweet Home, right?
Right.
Which all of a sudden, you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of like, you ever like listen, it reminds me of like when people got roasted, and Lewis loves the roast, right?
Love
So
them.
for 30 minutes, they were crapping on the person they were roasting. And then at the end of it, they would go, no, but I really love you. You're great. I love
We
your work.
roast the ones we love.
Yeah, that's what those songs by they were like the get laid songs for the bands. You know, it was like, here, we're Motley Crue. Here's our sweet song to endear the women.
The definition of a ballad is a type of poem that tells a story and was traditionally set to music.
Yeah, right. No, so I mean, so the problem that we have here with the '80s ballads is that you have a song like Space Age Love Song from Flock of Seagulls, which is very cool, but very, I mean, there's a gentleness, I think.
Right. It's like
in the music that we're talking about, there's a gentleness that you
like Mandy.
or an emotional resonance to it that isn't necessarily there in that band or that artist's other work.
I write the songs.
Distinguishes it, yeah.
And Lewis, you have to leave in a second. We know that, but it's a great point. It's a great, not a great point, but it's a great thought of like what I think the Euro bands get off way easier than the American bands did.
Can I do my before I go? Can I do my Judah impersonation from 5 minutes ago?
Oh God. Sure.
When you talk about ballads and music, eyes closed for 5 minutes, the whole thing.
I think the yogurt's gotten to you, Lewis. Lewis,
By the way, and give me the name and the number of your guy at Pearl Vision.
Will do. And Lewis, we'll see you on Friday.
Yes.
Peace out. So Ben,
I think a ballad has to have like a medieval, like courtly love quality to it. Not Courtney Love.
No,
courtly
it has to have
love.
heavy guitars. I think that's the thing of a ballad, Ben. Heavy on the guitars. It's like CC Play from Poison. You know what I mean? It's like where they allowed the guitarist to have 30 seconds in that song.
Well, like with the metal bands, there's always an acoustic aspect to it, right? And there's a gentleness to it. Again, I'm stuck on the gentleness aspect.
I love how your voice is really lowered as you said gentleness, because I can't. It's the mic's not picking it up as much. But I know what you're saying. It's very hard to define the ballads.
Well, I think it's hard to I think we need to distinguish. There's something that happened in the 1980s that gave us those songs, and that we remember them, and we also make fun of them, because they're they use certain cliches, and they use certain.
They use every song, every lyric is like one big pickup line.
Right.
Like if you listen to Air Supply's "Making Love Out of Nothing at All," it's literally one big pickup line.
Yeah. Yeah. In that case, well, no, it's not. I was thinking of one but it's not from the 80s. It's from the late 70s. Jefferson Starships.
Oh my God. We built this city on rock and roll.
No, ballad wise, as far as pickup lines go, long pickup Miracles.
Okay.
But that was from the 70s, not from the 80s.
But well, the one that came to my mind from 91 is Bryan Adams, Everything I Do It For You.
It was
because
91.
I know.
And when did Heaven come out? Because that was a very ballad.
That was during the 80s.
That was an 80s song.
That was, but this is where Richard Marx, all he did was these ballads. I mean, that's what they're synonymous.
Whatever happened to him?
He went on. I mean, he's a massive songwriter for tons of people. I mean, because grunge killed all of these people. I mean, let's be real. Grunge just killed the metal star. Like video killed the radio star. Grunge killed every band.
Oh, I know what happened to Richard Marx.
He got divorced and married.
Yeah, no, he's on. This is very sad. He spends a lot of time yelling at people on Twitter. That's very sad. That's very sad.
Does he really do that?
Yeah, no, yeah.
I'm guessing political views.
Sure, which we don't talk about.
Yeah, which we don't talk about. You see, that breaks my heart because right here waiting for you was everybody's graduation song from a certain decade. By the way, John has wrote in short stanzas, power ballads, perhaps. They need sentimentality. And Heaven was the theme to his senior prom.
Oh.
Excellent.
That's, by the way, how you could define power ballads often is what was the theme to your prom.
Right.
I went to an all boys school, so there was no prom.
I didn't go to prom, but ours was With or Without You, which I believe is an 80s ballad.
Yes. Yeah, I'll allow it. I went to an all boys school too, Judah, but we had sister schools.
Yes, but we didn't. We also had a sister school, but there was no prom. Let's just put it like that.
Oh, what a shame.
And yeah.
Okay, the real tragedy is I'm the girl and I didn't go to prom. I'm going to win this one from you two. Sorry.
Oh, well.
Oh, Kristen brought up a good one, which was I'll Be Watching You, which is the Stalker song, which is the great
no, it's every breath. It's Every Breath You Take by The Police is what you're thinking of.
Yes.
I'll Be Watching You. What in the world is happening here?
I'm just reading what they're writing. I can't help it. I'm just I can't help it. But Foreigner had a ton. Journey had a ton. Chicago. There were bands that were just laced with ballads. Anybody that David Foster got involved with or Mutt Lange created ballads.
Yeah, that's good. That's right.
They were like the balladeers of that decade. And we are running out of time. I want to thank you for this subject because you really did actually make us think.
Oh God, I'm sorry. Never again.
In a good way. It's like, listen, Hungry Eyes, Eric Carmen, Make Me Lose Control, Eric Carmen. There were some amazing ballads in the 80s. It was you know what? I want to say I feel bad for kids today because I don't think they get the music that we were given.
I think everything is so, everything's so pigeonholed and everything is in its own kind of silo.
It's pigeonholed and it's tested. These were albums that had these songs on them as opposed to just one song.
Right. It's all, and this is the byproduct of the iTunes era too, is that, we have singles, we don't have albums as much as we did.
And now we sound like grumpy old men.
That's right. We are, because we are.
I want to thank John Douglas, our forensic, our pod profiler, and Kristen for joining in today. We lost somebody else a couple other people along the way. Somebody was having trouble getting in.
Oh dear.
All you other people that should remain, well, we could see your names. Thank you for joining in. And by the way, Ben, actually, that you say that a lot of people listen on AM Greatness, a lot of people actually listen via podcast.
Which is wonderful. We have an iTunes link. You can find us on iTunes. Please subscribe. Please review us. Don't review us honestly. Just give us the 5 stars and say it's all good. And, we'll be certainly grateful.
No, we want the text that Lewis gets sent to him.
Oh yes, yeah.
Where they're all you're the greatest.
Yeah. Well, everyone, we've all got our roles to play, and my role is to fill time.
Bring action toys with boys who have action toy brains, which is the Killers, by the way. That's why I also, I want to plug the Killers' upcoming album, Imploding the Mirage. I pre-ordered it on a few different phones. And the reason I bring up the Killers, John, is because they're a very ballady band. They're a band that is very 80s like. And
we'll talk about that on our next episode.
Yes, but we will. Ben, what would you like to speak about on our next episode? Since I enjoyed this so much.
You put me on the spot. I'm not sure. We've got to think about it. But whatever we end up talking about, I'm sure Lewis will be here to humiliate us. And I'm hopeful that our fourth esoteric, Chris Buskirk,
Yes.
editor and publisher of American Greatness, will be able to join us next time. We've been missing him, and
Yes.
now that things are loosening up and we're not so locked down, Chris is getting back to what he does best, which is.
And by the way, speak for yourself, because we live in LA County. Our lockdown is till July 31st.
Right. I'm so happy. I get to sit down in the restaurant and have a civilized meal again, and I could not be more excited about that.
No, we may come to visit you.
Seriously. I want to tell you I want to end it with why this is so important, because especially living in Los Angeles County, it's very, or surrounding areas, it's very morbid. And Jillian and I adopted 2 dogs recently, and we went to the vet. And when you get to the vet, you can't even bring your animals in. So there was like a lineup of cars waiting for their animals to be picked up by vet techs wearing masks. It literally feels like we're living in Escape from Los Angeles or Escape from New York. Yeah. And so that's why for me this is so important, because just for an hour I'm thinking about what made me happy 30 years ago, or still does, as my producer girlfriend could attest. YouTubing those types of videos, it gives us an hour reprieve.
I agree.
And I want to thank America AM Greatness for giving us that reprieve. I want to thank Ben Boychuk for giving us that reprieve, and Chris Buskirk, and I want to thank John Douglas for coming in. It really means a lot, and Kristen Fowler and all the people and the other people, Marva, Jean W, and Nosy Rosie. It's like an hour reprieve that we need to stop thinking sometimes about, and that's what the 80s was about to me.
Not thinking.
Not thinking. They let us escape. It was about escapism, and that's what those songs were about. Were about escapism. And then grunge came in and just killed it with reality.
Heaven help us.
Heaven help us. We will talk to you next time. 4 Esoterics out.
Cheers.
Cheers.